Okay, so this video is regarding what I'm going to have to do just to keep my apartment. I might end up killing myself, not like literally, but just doing my job. I have a neurological condition where I have seizures with flashing lights and cold, and now I've been put into a situation which I have two choices: either give myself seizures on a regular basis and risk my life just for $11 an hour, literally get run over by cars, be left on the side of the road overnight to freeze to death, be greatly harmed, maybe even lose the ability to walk and move my arms. I might even lose the ability to talk for the rest of my life, be a vegetable for the rest of my life for $11 an hour, or leave my job. Now I'm going to explain how the situation came to be. So, I've worked several jobs around here. I have worked several. I'm a great worker. I get great I guess you would call them praises from my bosses and my customers. It's really nice. Now, most of the jobs are beyond the bus company's hours. All the jobs are above the bus company's hours. The bus company, the first one going down to my work is at 6:45. I can get in the door by 7 taking the bus. Going home, the bus comes right at my work at 8, so I'd have to leave work at 7:30, lock the door, close up the store that takes 20, 30 minutes, and then take the bus. Both of those are not allowed. The hours for most companies are open at 6, close at 9, 10, all different hours that are much later. So, what I've been doing is I take the bus and taxi. I pay a large amount to taxi, sometimes $80 a week. Or if you add in bus fare, it can become anywhere from 300 to 400 a month. But I always get there on time. I'm always there early. I get home okay. Things work out. Now, I was taking the bus at 8, I'm sorry, I was taking the taxi at 8:30 home. And I was taking the bus in and sometimes the taxi in. But they expanded their hours to 9 o'clock, so I get out at 9:30. But that was okay because I was taking the taxi home. So now my hours are open the store at 7, go home at 9:30. Just the other day I did both. I opened the store at 7 and I went home at 9:30, worked like a 13-hour shift or whatever. A lot of money there. But I've now found out that the taxi company has shut down. Their phone line is down. They're not running any taxis. There is no transportation. There is no other taxi company. Ubers are unreliable. There's actually one Uber driver that drives on meth. I have a friend of a friend who knows him, and he's actually high on meth as he drives the Ubers. As well as you schedule a Uber, they either don't show up at all, and then you have no ride home, or they show up late. So they're unreliable. I'm going to be trying the Uber, but I know it's not going to work out where I live. You have to live in like Boston or Lowell or a city type area that has multiple Uber drivers for it to work. I live in Rochester, New Hampshire in the sticks. So now, what do I do? Like for instance, today. Today I'm supposed to be working a 1 to 9. That means I get in there at 12:30, and that means I go home at 9:30. Tomorrow I'm supposed to do the same thing, but it's Sunday, so I only rely on taxis on Sundays. There are no taxis for tomorrow. So what does my boss think I should do? Should I close the store at the old hour at 8 or try to close at 7? Nope, that's not allowed. Can't close the store early. Is anybody going to give me a ride like a coworker? Nope, not on a regular basis. So they want me to walk home at nighttime, 10 o'clock on night, on the busiest street in Rochester, 108, where people drive 60 miles per hour. There's no street lamps either. Keep in mind this is pitch black. No street lamps, nothing glowing. And to top it all off, I've had several seizures on the side of the road from walking home. I was working for another company called Golf. That's 1/10 of the distance that I'm now supposed to walk. And I had several seizures during fall and winter on the side of the road. I would end up on the side of the road, so I'd be walking. the lights would go round, the car would be going towards me, headlights one after another, the noise round, and the cold will cause a shiver, and then I'll have a full-blown seizure. I'll black out, go unconscious, wake up on the ground with bumps and bruises all over my body. Last time the cars were running over my hair. I was maybe only a half an inch from having my head squished like a berry. It was so depressing to know that this is what I have to live through. It's been happening for 25 years, slowly getting worse every year. And now society's breaking down in a way where I can't get proper health care to fix the disorder or get a proper diagnosis. My family doesn't want to take responsibility for anything they did to me. They want to act like all this is some made up story, so that doesn't help. Um, and my friends or whatever, most of them don't drive because I work and I'm friends with the elderly and the disabled, and most of them don't drive. So, what am I going to do? I have two choices. I either can leave my job and move into the woods someplace and live like an animal, or I can try to walk home and injure my body permanently where I might not ever recover. I might get permanent injuries for the rest of my life. I might get run over. I might die. So I'm literally going to risk my life for a minimum wage job. I'm literally risking my life. And I know this has happened several times. This isn't some worry. This is a guarantee. It's not about if it will happen, it's about when it will happen. Which night am I going to get seriously harmed? And on top of that, I had an emergency bracelet where if I had a seizure, they called an ambulance and they would get me. So if I had a seizure walking home, the bracelet would go off and an ambulance would at least pick me up. So I had that taken care of, but my insurance company, what state insurance, has decided that the bracelet is too expensive and they cut me off of the bracelet. So now I do not have my emergency bracelet working anymore. I have the bracelet, but it's not connected to anything. So now I have no way to call for help either. When I have my seizure on the side of the road walking home tonight, when that happens to me and I'm on the side of the road unconscious with bruises all over, cars were just ran over my arm or head or whatever, there's no way for me to call for help because during and after my seizures, I cannot use my fingers or arms, so I cannot dial a phone. It takes me weeks to be able to dial a phone again. Sometimes I can barely dial a phone the day after, but shakingly, I'll mess up a bunch of times, but it takes time for me to learn how to use my body again. When you get 39 hits to the head on the cement that breaks your skull and fractures your skull, when you have all your body cut up, you just had a seizure, and you were left on the side of the road for 3 hours with traffic about to hit you, and you crawl home for 2 more hours trying to get home, when you do all that, yeah, it's not easy to then go and do your normal stuff at home, go on the phone, make phone calls. You can't, and with no transportation, it's not like anybody's going to drive me to the ambulance or the hospital or any of that type of stuff. You would think that my family might want to try to help and at least, if I called them, drive me to the emergency room if I'm on the side of the road dying. But they don't care enough to do that. They rather I get just run over. My family has no consideration about my health or my well-being. They didn't at childhood either. All they wanted to do was establish some mental health disorder to help them establish a Social Security case. That way, when I got to 18 or 19, they could pawn me off to the government. That was their idea. They didn't want to support me at 18, 19. That was their whole plan. But I complained about this overdose. I complained about the Ipecac punishment. I complained about my mother's psychotic behaviors. I complained about lightning in my back. My legs would shake in front of them. I would twitch in front of them. I brought it up in front of the psychologist. I brought it up in front of the doctors. But see, the psychiatrist just wanted to call it a side effect of the medication. The other doctor wanted to call it a coordination issue, and then my mother just wanted me to do ballet and all these girly things. She wanted me to wear tutus and do ballet. So I got little to no help. They had no consideration about my well-being. If somebody's twitching and has a coordination issue, ballet is not a cure. If anything, that's going to cause more issues. Kids are going to make fun of you. You're going to lose friends. In no way is it going to cure my disorder, and they didn't further look into this disorder either. If they did, they would have found out that something more serious was wrong. I was also bumping into things my whole childhood where my legs were all cut up. I would always have these blisters and cuts and all these different things on my shins and legs from bumping into stuff. I would drop stuff a lot. I had poor coordination due to my nervous system being messed up. When I move my arm and try to hit a button, my finger or an arm go maybe an inch to the right. It doesn't go where I tell it to go. Now, what do I do about this? Well, it's time for me to suffer again. It's time for me to suffer again. I will not leave my job because I need a place to live. I need a place to live, so I'm going to risk my life once again. I'm going to damage my body once again just to pay my rent. While my family tries to make up stories and believe in fantasies to try to go on their vacations and get drunk someplace. It's really pathetic that this is the situation I'm in. And with knowing, well, I know what was done to me, now I made bad choices as well. I try to treat my disorder with drugs. I became a drug addict. Opiates, alcohol were my main problems. I don't do those now. I've been sober for a long time. I've been working on my sobriety for 8 years now with one relapse in between. But that is not the cause of any of this. It's not like the drugs are going to hurt me tonight. No, that's not the problem. The problem is that I got to walk home in the cold and I might not be alive by the end of it. And yes, I could go drink today and then I know I would get home because alcohol suppresses the nervous system in a way that gives me a couple hours in which I don't have to worry about my seizures. Same thing with benzodiazepine. If I take those, I don't have to worry about my seizures for a good while. But the problem is that just kicks the problem to the next day. So I will not be doing that. What I will be doing is going to work, doing my job, and then risking my life on the way home. Now, why can't I be on Social Security for this? Once again, my family decided to make up stories to Social Security, exaggerate a mental disorder, and the stories don't connect to anything. A lot of it's made up and not provable. The stuff my family tries to go with is not provable or disprovable, so it makes it very hard for me to get Social Security. As well as if I lose my address or my phone, it's impossible for me to get Social Security. So Social Security has been applied for. I am working on it, but it's very unlikely I'll be able to collect thanks to my family's decisions. I've already tried it 2 times living homeless, but it's impossible to get it done while living in the woods. When you're living in the woods, you don't get the letters, you don't get the phone calls, and there's no way to get your court date. It's just impossible to get Social Security living in the woods. And if I don't risk my life now, then I'll lose my address, and then once again, I won't be able to get Social Security at all. It's a slim chance in hell I'll be able to get it. So tonight I'll be risking my life just so I can pay my rent. I'll be walking home tonight, probably again and again. Tomorrow is Sunday, so I might have to do it both ways too. Now, this is life-threatening. This is painful. This is harmful. I might be in a wheelchair. I might be dead by the end of the week. This is really pathetic that nobody cares enough to do a fucking thing. I pay my taxes. I've given back to society during COVID. I was working full-time, over 60 hours. I was walking home having seizures on the side of the road to keep the wheels of the businesses moving so everybody could get their gasoline. I did not wimp out. I spent 18 months during COVID straight working more than 60 hours. There was a couple 55-hour weeks in there, but most of the time it was anywhere from 55 to 60 hours a week. I was doing this getting paid exactly minimum wage, what was only like $9.50, $10 at that time. Barely covered my rent. Now that I'm asking for help, some form of transportation or some form of Social Security so when I get hurt, I don't lose my apartment, something like that would be nice. Transportation and Social Security would be helpful, some form of money. Now, the transportation issue is just due to me not driving, and I don't drive to keep everybody safe. If I can't control my arms and legs and where the hell they move, I obviously shouldn't be driving a car. even though my family pushed me to driving over and over and over as they saw my legs bounce, they saw my coordination issue, but I had no idea what was going on. They hid it from me. They absolutely just wanted to feed into this mental stuff with the psychiatrist. And they wanted to do me more harm with all these drugs, no matter how many side effects, hangovers, heart palpitations, vomiting, stomach sickness, extra Epicac, doesn't matter. It was always more pills for Zach. So now I'm doing very well mentally, I'm doing very well physically, but I have to be careful of my seizure disorder. I have to avoid cold, flashing lights, and noises. But tonight, I can't avoid those things. Tonight, I might be on the side of 108 with no traffic lights, with cars going by me at 60 miles per hour. By the way, the speed limit here is supposed to be 40, but everybody goes 60. They need to park a police officer over here to catch these people. It's so dangerous. And yeah, I might not make it home tonight. And so this is my last video, maybe. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. Hopefully I get through it. Hopefully I can work something out, maybe get a customer to drive me, but that's not sustainable. If the taxis are down for more than a week, there's nothing I can do other than harm myself physically to the point where I might never be able to talk, walk, or move again. Or I might even just die. And that scares the living shit out of me. And the fact that nobody gives a fuck about this and they all want to just make up stories bothers me quite a bit. And the fact that our medical care system is broken, so when I go into the doctors, it takes them years just to get one little step done, that's a problem as well. I mean, it's taken years to get where I am today, and it shouldn't take this long. These doctors are making stupid mistakes, like writing notes. Zach is excused from gym class. I was asking for a do not lift order for the Pepsi company. I explained to them that I could not lift because of my GI infection, and I would need a do not lift order so that we wouldn't get fined by Pepsi, because Pepsi's cannot be on the ground. And they give me a note. I get home, I read it. It says I'm excused from gym class. And that's just one small example. There's also the GI infection when I needed a CT scan. I got 3 CT scans done because the first one got done, it couldn't get sent to my doctor. The second one got done. They had a problem sending it to my doctor. The third one get done, I get a CD in hand so I can bring the CD to my doctor, and then they send it to my doctor. So I don't know what is going on with these doctors and these hospitals, but it's very clear to me that it's broken, and also they're trying to get money. Like, I scheduled an appointment and waited 3 months to see another doctor. And I waited. It was a Zoom phone call. They said they would be messaging me. So I left my email open, I left my text message open, and I left my phone line open. I took the whole day off to make sure I could get this done. I waited for my appointment with the doctor. I waited, called them an hour in advance. They told me everything was all set. The appointment comes to be at 4. Nothing, no message. So at 4:05, I called them and asked them what the hell's going on. Where's my doctor? I wait 3 months to get this appointment, and there's no doctor. Where is it? They go, oh, well, you should get an email. So I checked my email. There's no email. So at this point, I'm like, no, there's no email here from them. So I go, well, let's check the system real quick. Then the girl goes, oh, well, we don't have your email. I said, I've given it to you 6 times. What do you mean you don't have my email? And at this point, they go, oh, well, we don't know, but let's put it in right now. I said, yeah, because I called an hour ago and checked, and you guys told me you had everything. So I give them my email. They send me the link at 4:12. I click on the link, sign in with my doctor. Now it's 4:13. And the doctor doesn't show up. It says doctor hasn't joined, doctor hasn't joined, doctor hasn't joined. I wait until 4:15. I call the doctor back, and they say, oh, well, you didn't show up, so we're not doing the appointment, and they try to bill me. They were trying to get a free bill. They're trying to bill my insurance for nothing. What they did is they double booked. They had another person there, and they just double billed us. They put somebody else in my own spot. Then they played a game and tried to put it on me. because they had my email. They got my email 6 times over a year ago, and 6 months ago I gave my email again. And an hour before the appointment, I double checked to make sure they had everything. And I was on the appointment all set at 4 o'clock. But what they wanted to do is they wanted to bill my insurance and somebody else's insurance for the same hour. So these games need to stop. They need to stop. It's costing me a fortune. And nobody seems to care. All the people that can change it seem to want to just point fingers. That doesn't help the situation. It's time for people to give up more of their salaries to fix the system, because we're all paying more than we need to. People don't realize if we fix the system how much more money we would have in our checks to begin with. And there's nothing I can do at this point. My life is at risk. I'm sober. I'm doing everything I can do. But there's one problem that I really need to fix, and that's this seizure disorder. I have a lot of other health issues, but those I'm okay with because I know what caused them. I have a prostate issue, and I have a heart issue, and a lung issue. Well, those are from having asthma, smoking, and taking cough medicine as a teenager. I'm not too worried about those, even if they kill me. But this seizure disorder has been causing me to suffer for 25 years. And now the taxi company's gone. I'm going to have to risk my life for $11 an hour. Literally. I'm going to be on the side of the road all cut up again, and I can't even get an ambulance anymore. Now I have no bracelet to call an ambulance. I can't dial a phone, so I have to spend 3 hours on the side of the road unconscious or freezing. Then I got to spend 2 more hours crawling on the ground to get home. And then when I finally get home, I could choose to dial an ambulance or ask my roommate to call an ambulance. But at that point, it's been 5 hours. The doctors won't do shit when I get there. They'll say, oh, well, you just look a little twitchy right now. Oh, well, yeah, great. But how about the fact I can't move my legs or arms proper? How about the fact when I try to move my arm, it shakes out of control? How about the fact that I can't talk right? Oh, you seem fine to us. That's because they haven't heard me talk like I am now. After my seizures, I talk like, I only can make short syllables. I really have problems speaking because my nervous system has been fried. And after each one of these, it gets more and more problematic. And I end up with more and more taser-like feelings going through my body. And every year it gets worse. And if I keep on triggering these seizures just to make money, I'm going to end up in a wheelchair, paralyzed, or some vegetable, or somebody who can't speak. And I don't want any of that, but I haven't been left any other choices. I've been handed a sinking ship, given a bucket, and said if it doesn't work, swim. And my family has done nothing to try to fix this. They have not tried to get me any transportation. They have not looked into why I don't drive. They could care less if I drive or not. They could care less about my physical health. They could care less about what was going on with my physical health as a child. The only part of health that they ever wanted to do was the mental health, and that was for Social Security. And they overdid that. They exaggerated. They pushed things that weren't true. My mother was totally going crazy with it. She was even trying to convince me that I had things that I didn't have. Like she tried to convince me that I was schizophrenic. Luckily, it never got put down with the doctors because I went against her on that one. But she used to make up disorders and then try to get me to go along with it. And as a child, you don't know any better. Your mother tells you you're a schizophrenic or that you have some bipolar disorder. You go along with it. You don't try to look into the facts. Luckily, when she asked me about the schizophrenic disorder, I was about 14 years old and I knew better because I was living with a schizophrenic, so I knew the symptoms. I knew what that was. But if I didn't know what a schizophrenic looked like or what they were going through, I would have went along with her, and still to this day, I would be on schizophrenic medication I don't need. And that's how a lot of this stuff started with me. They would make up mental illnesses, get me on drugs for those mental illnesses, and then I would have side effects to those drugs. So they would give me more drugs, more drugs, more drugs, and more drugs. And then people wonder why at the age of 16 all the way to 22, I did drugs. Because I was already doing drugs. I mean, my first high was at age 7 with the overdose. It was wicked. It was the strongest high I ever had. And then I've had several highs at 8, 9, 10, 11. Some of these pills I was given wrecked me. I mean, I was fucked up high. These pills like Thorazine, Seroquel, you got what do you call it, Ritalin, you got a bunch more. You got Lamictal, Remeron, even though those ones don't give you too much of a high. But Seroquel in high doses, absolutely. Thorazine, absolutely. Ritalin, absolutely. Mixing 7 medications together, absolutely they'll give you some type of buzz and some fucked up feeling, and they'll mess up your mind. Absolutely. If you give pills to somebody who doesn't need it, it will cause problems. But now I've fixed all that. I've come off the meds, I've recovered, and I figured out what was going on with the mental disorder. Now I'm normal. Now I'm able to think clearly. Now I'm able to deal with stressful situations. Now I'm able to deal with people who are psychotic, they're doing psychotic things. I'm able to deal with just all different types of stuff and do it just fine. My mental health has never been better, what I'm so thankful for. All I had to do was stop taking drugs, stop taking pills, stop listening to my mother and father, and everything got better. But the seizure disorder has not got better. The neurological disorder, the lightning, taser-like feeling that goes through my body, that intensifies when it gets cold, that triggers seizures and cold and flashing lights, or the combination of triggers does it. When those happen, nothing good comes out of it. And tonight, that could happen again, and again, and again, and again, and again, because people don't want to do their jobs. The taxi company was short-handed, treating their employees poorly, so something has happened where they're no longer running. And they were the only taxi company in town. I'm going to try the Ubers, but Ubers lead me down there sometimes where I still have no ride home and have to walk home. And this is miles and miles and miles. Takes about over an hour to walk home. And with winter here, with the cold here, I'm just screwed. Now, is my family going to drive me home? No, absolutely not. Yeah, are they going to try to work with me at the doctor's? Absolutely not. Do they care if I end up a cripple on the side of the road? Absolutely not. No, they do not one bit. They do not care for stopping or trying to help my physical health. Because the two things I need to get this going is transportation and money. I need to make sure I have an apartment. That's where the money comes in. I got to keep an address and a phone line open. And the second part is transportation so I can continue working. So those are the two needs that I need to survive. And they contradict each other. If I want to keep my apartment, I need transportation. And if I need transportation, I need to keep my apartment. So they overlap and go in a circle. Well, now that circle has ended. My transportation has ended. So now my income will be ending unless I harm myself. I have a choice to walk home and do damage to my body in the cold, trigger seizures, and I'm so tired of people asking me to harm myself. You'll have one person say, "Oh, don't cut yourself, don't harm yourself," and then they'll ask you to do something that's like jumping off a bridge. They'll know what is going on with you, and then they'll ask you to do something that could seriously hurt you. I'm so tired of people doing that. They have no consideration for the well-being of others, and that's one of the big problems in society today. People do not have consideration for the well-being of others. Definitely not my father. My father definitely has no consideration in my well-being. None whatsoever. I'll say that again. My father has no consideration on my well-being. I could live or die in front of him as long as he has his vacations and his alcohol. So that's where I'm at. It's time for me to figure this out on my own once again, what probably means I will have to suffer and go through great pain, and I might even not be alive by the end of the week. So that's what I'm going to do. I don't want to do it, but I cannot quit my job because I got to keep an address and a phone number. And I can't get to my job because there's no transportation. And I can't drive because I have a seizure disorder and I want to keep other people safe. So that's where I'm at.